What's up, chat? Today we're gonna be ranking every single Pokemon type because I'm bored and I want something to do. So, whatever. I don't know what order these are in. Oh, it's in alphabetical order, I think. Yeah, it is. Yeah, so I guess we'll be ranking them in this order. Um, Very interesting starting type. So first we have Bug. Now, Bug type is very overhated, I would say. Personally speaking, I don't think it's like awful, but it's definitely bad. So I don't think we need five whole tiers. So we're gonna no, we're gonna delete this. We're gonna rename this to like bad, meh, good, and great. And we will be ranking them in order with each tier. So they'll be from left is the highest, right is the lowest. So but speaking honestly, I don't think I can put Bug in meh tier because it definitely is one of the worst types in the game. Defensively, it's neutral. It has two resistances and two weaknesses. Um, or sorry, three resistances and three weaknesses. Uh, I will say, however, that the resistance to ground typing makes it a bit better defensively than maybe neutral, especially with fighting type too. Ground and fighting are two very common offensive typings, and resistance to both of those is pretty good. Um, the weakness to rock is bad, but flying and fire aren't quite as common, I wouldn't say. Uh, Offensively, the real place where Bug struggles is offensively. Bug has 8 neutral matchups, 3 positive matchups against Grass, Psychic, and Dark, and 7 weak matchups against Flying, Fighting, Poison, Ghost, Steel, Fire, and Fairy. Um, to be quite frank, uh, that's just bad. Um, yeah, I could go into the specifics of each of those matchups and be like, oh, well, this one isn't a very common. It doesn't matter. To give you an idea, I'll just make it real simple. Bug goes neutral with about 45% of the Pokédex. It is positive against 18 or like so something like that, and it is resisted by about 40-ish. Being resisted by 40% of all Pokemon is not good. So we're gonna leave Bug right there. Okay. Next up we have Dark. So I think we'll go. We'll talk about offense first because that's a little bit easier for me to keep track of. Offensively, admittedly, Dark isn't great. Uh, Now I will say Dark has a very important role in being the only type besides Ghost that Ghost types are weak to. And a Ghost type being weak to Ghost type pretty much makes that a neutral matchup, which means Ghost's only real negative matchup is against Dark types. So that makes it a very important matchup. So, and then obviously the Psychic is good, but it's not quite. Psychic Pokemon aren't nearly as common and have other weaknesses. Um, the three types it deals 0.5 damage to. Dark is one of them, which doesn't matter because that's a neutral matchup at that point. Another one is fighting, which fighting is kind of just like the common dark weakness, so it sucks, but that's just what you expect. And then fairy. Fairy's just a great type. Honestly, it's a bit overtuned, so what are you gonna do? But even with that, I would honestly say Dark type is still better offensively than it is bad offensively, just because of the ghost super effectiveness. That's just very unique to the Dark type. And so defensively, it's it's okay. It's not bad. It takes double damage from fighting, bug, and fairy, which are three very bad things to take double damage from. Like all of those are fairly common offensive typings. I know we said bug is bad, but especially offensively, but bug has a lot of things a couple things that it does 2 times damage to that don't have a lot of common weaknesses. So it's it's not good to have a bug weakness, and there's also just a lot of coverage moves that people use that have bug type. So, and fighting and fairy speak for themselves. It's resistant to dark and ghost type. Dark's neutral, like I said, and ghost is just further pushing that matchup. And it is completely immune to psychic type moves, which is immunities are always great. But defensively, I would definitely say it's better offensively than it is defensively. Um, I am gonna put it into good though because it's a relatively neutral type, and it fills a niche with the ghost type that no other type really manages to fill. So next up we have dragon. Dragon is really interesting because it's like the most neutral type in the game. I'd say it doesn't have hardly any interactions at all. It's just kind of there. Um, Dragon deals 2 times damage to other dragon types, half damage to steel, and no damage to fairy. Fairy was pretty much implemented to be dragon's like counter because while dragon is relatively neutral offensively, it does have a fair amount of defense that is a little much, honestly. So fairy was pretty much created to counter dragon, but offensively it's not great. A neutral matchup and 2 negative matchups offensively. So defensively, however, Dragon is amazing. Even with the fairy weakness, Dragon takes 2 times damage from only Ice, Dragon, and Fairy. Dragon's a neutral matchup. Fairy is Fairy. I mean, not much more I can say about that. And Ice is really, before Fairy, Ice was Dragon's only actual weakness. And Ice isn't great. We'll get to that. And Dragon takes half damage from fire, water, grass, and electric. So every partner Pokemon and electric, which I guess if you count Pikachu as a partner Pokemon, so whatever. But very common move pool there. A lot of moves cover those 4 types, so great typing defensively. Extremely mediocre typing offensively. I'm gonna say dragon type is good, but not as good as dark type because it doesn't really fill a niche like dark type does. It's just kind of like overall just a good option defensively. Okay, next up we have electric. Electric's weird for me. Electric is admittedly pretty bad offensively, to be frank. This is another like fulfill that niche type thing. A lot of teams will opt to not take a grass type Pokemon because the type overall is fairly weak, and will take electric to deal with water types instead because water type is a very common type. Very common. I think it's like the most common type in the game, maybe. I don't quite remember. So, and also flying is also incredibly common. So it has the 2 super effective things that it deals are very common. The problem is that it deals half damage to grass, electric, and dragon. Dragon isn't relatively common. Electric's a neutral matchup. Grass, a lot of grass Pokemon, so that one's a bit of a but it goes completely untouched to ground type Pokemon. It completely just cannot affect ground type, which is a very good typing. Ground type will definitely be up at the top tier when we get to it. So yeah, you'll see that when we get there. So offensively, it's kind of neutral because it only really has the ground typing as like a big weakness. I guess grass too, but it the 2 types that it does cover are very good. Now, defensively, electric is actually very solid. It takes double damage from ground, you should never be playing an electric type Pokemon into a ground type Pokemon. So that's just on you if you're doing that. And that takes half damage from flying. So kind of the same with ground. It's just a overall dominant matchup for electric. Steel, where's steel? Which is really nice to be resisted to. Very nice typing to be resisted to. And electric, so kind of neutral. But I'm gonna put electric in meh. It's a very neutral typing overall. I don't see it excelling in either of the two, offense or defense. It's kind of just iffy on both sides. So I can't really justify putting it up here because I wouldn't say it's like outright a good typing. It's just kind of there. Okay, next up we have Fairy. I've already talked about Fairy enough to where you can probably guess where this is going to go. Fairy deals 2 times damage to fighting, dragon, and dark types. The dragon type weakness is obviously there because it's designed to do that. But fighting and dark type are fighting is very common and dark type is very hard to counter. So 2 very good matchups to have an effective typing on. It deals half damage to poison, steel, and fire. Steel is just, the defensive god. Dealing 0.5 damage to fire sucks, but it's not the end of the world. And the poison one is also like, poison's not a great type, so it's kind of just eh. So offensively, it's pretty good, I'd say. Defensively, it is really good. So 2 times damage from poison. That's just a lost matchup for Fairy. Fairy gets countered by poison and it gets countered by steel. It takes 2 times damage from both of those and only deals half damage. It takes half damage from fighting, bug, and dark. Adding the bug resistance on there, it's right here. I don't know why I lost it. It's kind of just, it feels like an insult to bug type. I feel like honestly they could completely remove that and Fairy and bug type would still be balanced. I seriously don't know why that's a thing. I'll be honest with you, but it definitely works out in Fairy's favor. And it takes 0 damage from dragon type. So, I mean, Fairy's good. It's really good. It's great defensively. It's pretty good. It's better offensively than it's bad offensively. So, I'm gonna put it in great for now. It'll probably stay there, but it might end up towards the bottom of great. A lot of people overhype this type. I think they say it's like God's gift to Earth, but I don't. I'm not one of them. Fighting type. It's fighting type. I mean, it has so many freaking interactions. It's insane. So let's just get through them. Offensively, you would think fighting type would be great, and it is against a lot of Pokemon, but it also isn't against a lot of Pokemon. That's kind of fighting type. It has so many super effective, but already also like a bunch of not effectives. So overall, I would say there's more types that fighting, or more Pokemon in the types that fighting doesn't do well against than there are in the types that it does do well against. So it's not great offensively, and the complete inability to hit ghost Pokemon also kind of sucks. But it's not terrible because it does cover. It has that dark interaction, which the only other typing that has that is bug and fairy. So that's in those. It's good to have a dark type super effectiveness. Normal, only type in the game that is super effective against normal, which is a very common type. And steel's always nice to be super effective against. Rock and ice are okay, I guess. I don't know, but I'm not gonna go into detail. It's not great offensively. It's not, which is kind of ironic for the fighting type. Defensively, it's okay. It takes 2 times damage from flying, psychic, and fairy. Psychic is, it's the counter. It's the basic counter. But flying and fairy definitely sucks. a little bit more. Two very common types. It takes half damage from rock, bug, and dark. Now this is actually really nice. A lot of really good moves fall into those categories. So I'd say it's definitely positive on the defensive side, but I really can't put it higher than meh. I don't even think I can put it higher than electric. It's just not great, admittedly. It just has so much going for it or going against it offensively that I can't really justify putting it any higher, even with all that it has going for it offensively. The two kind of counteract each other a bit too much, not in its favor. Okay, next up we have fire. Kind of the same thing with fighting, where it has a lot of interactions offensively. Um, the sad part is, once again, I think it kind of weighs into the bad territory, but not quite as much as fighting. It's a little bit more neutral. So fire does 2 times damage to bug, steel, grass, and ice. The steel typing matchup is really nice. Uh, Grass and ice are okay. Bugs pretty good, and it does half damage to rock, other fire, water, and dragon. I'd say overall this is a relatively neutral one because while I think more Pokemon fall into like the water, fire, and rock types, it's hard to find resistant weaknesses for steel with all the resistances. So I think it's relatively neutral offensively. Um, Defensively, fire is insane. I'll just throw it out there. Fire is a defensive machine. It takes double damage from ground, rock, and water. Now, I will say that this sucks. Ground and rock, two of the most common offensive type move types in the game. Very good moves on both of these types. Water, not as much, but a lot of water type Pokemon, so a lot of people trying to get the stab bonus. Takes half damage from bug, steel, fire, grass, ice, and fairy. You can go into detail and you can nitpick about how many of moves are actually in those types, but being resistant to 6 types and only being weak to 3 is just kind of nuts. I'm gonna put fire and good right above dark. It's relatively neutral offensively and it's pretty friggin' good defensively. So next we have flying. Flying is actually really good offensively. And it may not seem like it because it only has 3 and 3, but the Pokemon that the types that it deals double damage to are much more common than the types that it doesn't, that it's weak to. It deals double damage to fighting, bug, and grass, and is resisted by rock, steel, and electric. Yeah, there's just a good like 100 or so more Pokemon, I'd say, that fill those first 3 types than the last 2. So it's very solid offensively. Defensively, it's also pretty okay. The big thing here is the ground type immunity, which is incredible because ground type is one of the strongest offensive types in the game. What does suck though is taking 2 times damage from both rock and ice, which are 2 very good offensive types as well. And the types it resists, fighting and bug are pretty good to resist, but grass is kind of meh. It's not a great resistance to have. And electric is also a pretty big weakness. Not a huge weakness like rock and ice, but I would definitely say it still leans towards the positive light defensively, but offensively, it's really good. I think flying type is super duper underrated. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put flying type right here above fire, and I'm going to move dragon down to the top of meh, because good was getting a little bit too crowded. I might adjust it a little bit later, but flying type is just very heavily underrated in my opinion. Very good type. Ghost type. Ghost type is a bit of a fan favorite. Not a lot going on offensively. It deals double damage to other ghost types, to psychic types. It deals half damage to dark, and it can't damage normal. A lot of normal type Pokemon. So offense, I'll be honest with you, offensively, not great. But there's also a good amount of ghost Pokemon too, and that is a kind of Normal Pokemon also can't affect Ghost Pokemon, so that's a bit of a neutral matchup. So pretty much, let's just look at this as it deals 2 times damage to Ghost and Psychic, and it deals half damage to Dark. Pretty good overall, I'd say. Um, Defensively, it's actually really friggin' solid. I'll just be honest with you. It takes 2 times damage from Ghost and Dark. Dark's a bad matchup. Ghost is Ghost. I mean, what are you gonna do? It's the same type as you. You either gotta hit something or you don't. It takes half damage from Poison and Bug. Poison's meh. It's not a lot of poison type moves that are really seen in competitive, but Bug, pretty common offensive typing, takes 0 times damage from normal and fighting. We already talked about the normal, but the 0 times damage from fighting is insanely good. Let's be honest with you. Let's be honest here. Insanely good to just be able to hit fighting for normal damage, but not be able to take any back from its moves is pretty good. Jeez. I also want to put Ghost in good, but I'm gonna put Ghost at the bottom of great because Ghost is just it's just so good defensively. It's only really weak to one actual type, like weak, and that's Dark, and it just has advantages over a bunch of other types. So it's just a really good type to have on any Pokemon. Okay, Grass. Um. Grass sucks offensively, dude. I'll just be honest with you. Grass is absolutely terrible offensively. Grass is resisted by more Pokemon in the full Pokédex than it is neutral to, which is just an insanely bad stat to have. But obviously, if you combine like the Pokemon that it is super effective against and then it goes neutral against, that's gonna be more than what it's resisted to. But the fact that it is resisted by more than it goes neutral against is just such a crazy stat. It is resisted by about 45% of all Pokemon. I'm not even going to go into the details of every type that resists it because it just sucks. It is not good offensively in the slightest. And I'll be honest here, defensively, it's not doing much better. It takes 2 times damage from Flying, Poison, Bug, Fire, and Ice. Flying, Bug, and Ice are all pretty solid offensive typings. Poison and Fire are kind of meh. And it's resistant to ground, water, grass, and electric. The only real standout resistance there is ground and maybe water if you really want to stretch it a little bit. But it's just such a bad type. I'll be honest here. I'm sorry to people who like grass starters, but grass is just not a good type in the slightest. I can't justify putting it any higher than the worst spot, even below Bug. It's not good. But moving on to a more positive note, we have Ground. Ground is freaking baller offensively, dude. This thing is super effective to Poison, Rock, Steel, Fire, and Electric, and even beyond that, there are a crap ton of just really good ground type moves. It deals half damage to Bug and Grass, which are 2 very bad defensive typings already. So that's not really a big deal. If it did like bad damage to like a good defensive typing, then it'd be more. But it does 0 damage to Flying, which sucks, but I'd still say it's far better offensively than it is bad offensively. And in terms of defense, it has a pretty nasty weakness to Ice, which sucks. Ice kind of has a lot of matchups with some really good types, so Ice is just kind of a common bane for a lot of dudes. It's also weak to water and grass, but we just said grass friggin' sucks, and water's eh. A lot of Pokemon water type, but not a lot of good moves, admittedly. It takes half damage from Poison and Rock. The rock resistance is nice, but Poison resistance is just like, who gives a shit? I'll be honest with you. No one fucking cares. And it takes 0 type damage from Electric, which is, we already talked about that when we did Electric. So, ground type's great. Ground type is so good offensively, and it's pretty positive defensively. It's just very good type overall. Very good type. Okay, ice. So ice is a bit of an interesting one because hypothetically this type should suck. It goes neutral offensively and it's pretty weak defensively, like very weak defensively. So offensively, it deals 2 times damage to flying, ground, grass, and dragon. Cut grass out and just look at the other 3. Those other 3 typings do not have a lot of weaknesses, like big offensive weaknesses. Ice is a pretty much like a universal, like, I'm ready to cover these types Pokemon to have, and it's really nice in all those situations. It deals half damage to steel, fire, water, and ice, which the water typing sucks. Ice typing's a neutral matchup. Fire and steel are just fire and steel. What are you gonna do? Those are 2 great defensive types. I definitely say it goes more positive than negative in the offensive category. Now defensively, it's not quite there at all. It takes half damage from ice, and that's its only resistance. And being only resistant to your own type is not doing you any favors. It takes 2 times damage from fighting, rock, steel, and fire. Steel and fire, mainly defensive types. What are you gonna do? That sucks, but it's not a huge deal. Fighting and rock are 2 really bad types to be weak to, especially both of them. So I'm not gonna put it in bad. I think it probably outdoes fighting just because it's really solid offensively. I can't put it above electric though. It's just its defense is just so friggin' bad. But fighting has very little going for it, and I'd say ice does have something going for it. So normal. Um, it's normal type. I mean, yeah, nothing's weak to it. A lot of stuff's resisted by it. I mean, not a whole lot, but like a good 20% of the decks. Rock, Steel, and Ghost. I mean, it's normal type. It's not. It was never going to be good offensively. I don't even need to talk about that. And then defensively, takes 2 times damage from fighting. That sucks. Takes 0 damage from Ghost. That's a neutral matchup. Normal isn't good, dude. It's okay as uh like a secondary typing, but still not. It's I'll put it right here. Right here. I'm leaning towards bug a little bit. Maybe it's a little biased because I do kind of like bug type a little bit, but I mean it's normal type. I can't really say much about it. It was never meant to be good. Poison. Ooh, we got another boyo going into the bad tier here. Okay, poison does 2 times damage to grass and fairy. Grass fucking sucks. Fairy's really good. The fairy is nice. It's actually really nice, but takes it deals half damage to poison, ground, rock, ghost, and does 0 damage to steel. Poison's a bit of a defensive type, so it's a neutral matchup though. Ground and rock are offensive typings. What are you gonna do? Ghost and steel are not good things to have resisted to your moves. I think like there's actually literally double the amount of Pokemon that resist poison than that are weak to it. Very bad offensively. It's very bad. Defensively, it's actually really good though. It takes 2 times damage from ground and psychic. The ground weakness sucks for it, but the psychic weakness is like, who gives a shit? It takes half damage from fighting, poison, bug, grass, and fairy. Poison and grass, not a big deal, but the half damage from fighting, bug, and fairy, that's money. That's money right there. Defensively. The fact still stands that it's complete shit offensively though. So this is what we're gonna do. I've changed my mind a little bit again. We're gonna move fighting into bad. I really just don't like fighting. I don't think it's a good type. I think its niche is too niche, unlike dark types. Fighting is pretty much dark type, except dark type does its job better. Poison is good defensively. Poison is a good defensive typing. It's terrible offensively, but it is a really solid defensive typing. Okay, Psychic. Psychic's bad offensively. I'll keep it a buck with you. Dealing 2 times damage to poison is really nice, as we said. It's, you know, a good defensive typing, but fighting, who gives a shit? That's what it's supposed to be good against. Half damage to steel sucks. You know, it's steel. It's always going to suck. Half damage to itself is whatever, who cares? But 0 damage to dark type is kind of kills it. It can't fight dark types at all. So offensively, it's just not great at all. Defensively, it's just I'm trying to decide whether it's bad or whether it's ass. It's pretty fucking ass. I'm gonna have to do some tier list adjusting here in a second. All 3 types that it's weak to are pretty common offensively: bug, ghost, and dark. And it takes half damage from fighting, which is supposed to be matchup, and from psychic, so it's just like who gives a shit. It's fucking bad defensively, and it's bad offensively. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna move dragon back up to good, fighting back up to meh, because it does still have that niche, and I'm putting psychic right above normal, right below normal, because normal at least is normal. He's not supposed to be good. Psychic just sucks. It doesn't suck as much as grass, but it just friggin' sucks. So, yeah. Okay, 3 types left. Bear with me here. Rock. Very good offensive typing. We've been talking about that. Rock is super effective on flying, bug, fire, and ice. Flying and fire, 2 great defensive typings, so having those matchups is really nice for rock. Bug and ice is whatever. Who give? It's not really anything big going for it. But the bug type, there's a lot of bug type Pokemon, so it's nice. It does half damage to fighting, ground, and steel. Fighting and ground, well, fighting specifically, who gives a shit? I don't like fighting type. I don't think anyone else. It's not really common. Ground kind of sucks, but ground's an offensive typing. If you're resisted by ground, just get something else and throw it out there. And steel, it's never good to have, you know, that steel matchup, but that's just what steel does. There's not much you can do about it. It's definitely way better offensively though. It's like pretty friggin' insane offensively. Defensively, however, it's a bit yikes. It is weak to fighting, ground, steel, water, and grass. The fighting and ground specifically, dealing half damage to fighting isn't terrible, but taking half damage from fighting, that's pretty bad. There's a lot of good fighting type moves. The ground one speaks for itself. Ground is probably the best offensive typing in the game. You don't want to take double damage from ground. Yeah. Steel, water, and grass, though, I mean, whatever. It's just a bad matchup for rock against steel, and water and grass are like, boo-hoo. Takes half damage from normal, which is, I mean, let's be frank here. Who gives a shit? Flying, poison, and fire. The poison resist is, sorry, not the poison. The flying resist is nice. The other 2 are fucking lame. So rock's pretty shit defensively, but it's really solid offensively. So I'm gonna put it right here. It's really, really good offensively. Might move dragon back down again. I really can't decide with this dude. It's like bridging the gap so hard. Steel. Okay, I'll go ahead and give you a little spoiler alert. Steel's going up here. We need to say this though. Steel does suck offensively. Steel is not good offensively. It is very bad offensively. Like very bad. If Steel had the offense that it does with like a pretty good defense, it would go here. But that's not the case because Steel's defense is Steel's defense. Steel's defense is completely overloaded. And I'm not going to go into detail because it would take forever. These two are interchangeable. Best offensive type in the game, best defensive type in the game. Do what you will. Steel just takes. It's so fucking good, dude. Steel's offense is so shit, but his defense is just so. It's just so. It's Steel defense. Wait, like I don't know what to say about that. Water type. Oh boy. I am a personal water type starter enjoyer. Water type is my favorite of the three starting types personally, but is it the best of the three? It's not bad. It's not bad. It deals double damage to ground, rock, and fire. The double damage to fire, I mean, water covers fire, but fire's great defensively, so that's nice. Ground and rock or whatever. Both of those are pretty weak offensively, give or take. Dealing half damage to water isn't really a big negative. Half damage to grass also isn't a big negative, and half damage to dragon sucks, so that's fine. But honestly, it's pretty solid offensively. It definitely, I think in terms of coverage, there's a lot more water and grass types than there are ground, rock, and fire. But like, why are you playing water into water or water into grass? I mean, just don't do that. It's simple. So offensively, it's actually pretty good, I'd say. Defensively, it's actually really good. It takes double damage from grass and electric. I mean, grass is grass. Fuck grass. It's so fucking terrible. And electric, that's electric's job, is to deal double damage to water. Well, let's be honest here. That's literally all it does, because there's other things to deal with flying type, but all electric does is just hit water for super effective. That's its niche. So, whatever. And it takes half damage from steel, fire, water, and ice. Water, who cares? Fire, who cares? It's supposed to take half damage from that. Steel's alright, but the ice resistance is really nice. What the fuck? Get out of here. I'm recording a little something to put on my filler YouTube channel. You fucking interrupted me. Fucking idiot. My fucking roommate. Fucking idiot. Staring at my goddamn door like the dude from the fucking Shining. It's not better than fire. I'll be honest. It is really solid, but it's not better than fire. Actually, I think it's like literally right there, and we're gonna move dragon type right here. This is my final list. I'm not gonna overthink this. This is what it is. Take it or leave it. I don't really give a shit. Have a nice day, and don't do drugs, kids.